There are a huge number of abbreviations in the medical world, which can make life much easier because there is a lot of medical terminology. But when you're writing your OET letter, is it appropriate to use these abbreviations, or should you write out each word? Let's take a closer look. Hi, I'm Sharon, and I'm an OET trainer here at Benchmark Education Solutions. In this video, we're going to talk about when it's appropriate to use abbreviations in your OET letter writing task. Sometimes it is better to write out the word in full, but the rules for this are changing over time, both in the medical world and in OET writing. Today, let's outline the 3 main guidelines you should consider to make sure you're an expert at using abbreviations. Guideline 1. Will the recipient of your letter understand the abbreviation? There isn't a standard list of abbreviations and symbols which OET assessors accept, but they do provide some guidelines. If you feel the abbreviation will be understood by your reader, then it can be acceptable. Commonly used abbreviations are generally acceptable too, like BP and BMI. The best place to look for commonly used abbreviations in English is on the internet. You can compare the most popular search results and check that the abbreviations appear in more than one list. Here's an example of an acceptable abbreviation. Mr. Harris has stage 1 hypertension with a BP of 140/90. So it comes down to common sense and using your own instinct as to what will be understood when you're writing to the same kind of professional as yourself. Here are some things to consider, though, if your writing prompt asks you to write to a different kind of professional than you are. Don't use abbreviations that your colleague won't be aware of. For example, if you are a GP and the referral letter is to a consultant, there will be abbreviations that you'll both be aware of. However, if you're a consultant, you may normally use some abbreviations that are not known to a GP. If you're writing to a patient or a patient's family, avoiding almost all abbreviations would be more helpful to them, since they will probably not understand technical jargon and acronyms. Now here's guideline number 2. Can I use abbreviations for medical conditions? We suggest that when you are writing about medical conditions, you should write the name in full. Here are some examples. Ms. June has a history of chronic obstructive lung disease caused by emphysema. Ms. Kovas has a history of postnatal depression. If you like, it's common practice when writing to follow the full name of the condition with the abbreviation in parentheses, so if you need to refer to it again in your letter, you can just use the abbreviation. Ms. June has a history of chronic obstructive lung disease, COLD, caused by emphysema. Ms. Kovas has a history of postnatal depression, PND. Then, if you refer to the condition again, you can now use the abbreviation. Ms. Kovas has a history of postnatal depression, PND. She has suffered from PND since her second child was born in 2019. It's important to note that some abbreviations can refer to multiple conditions, so it's important to write out those conditions to avoid confusion. Pause the video if you like and take a look at these examples. Here's an example. I'm writing this letter to refer Mr. Weir, a 44-year-old real estate agent with suspected mitral stenosis, for further assessment and management. Or, I am writing this letter to refer Mr. Weir, a 44-year-old real estate agent with suspected multiple sclerosis, for further assessment and management. One example of where it is specifically stated not to use an abbreviation is for diabetes. For example, you are required to write type 2 diabetes rather than NIDDM. Mr. Johnson will need instruction on how to manage his type 2 diabetes. Now here's guideline number 3. Can I use abbreviations for drug administration? It's very important that candidates write the information in full when it comes to drug administration wherever possible. It's also a good idea to write the complete description of times for drug administration. For example, you should write at night instead of NOCTE, twice a week instead of 2/7, or as required instead of PRN. However, it is acceptable to use abbreviations for commonly understood units of measurement, like mg for milligrams. So to sum up, here are some basic rules to help you know when to use abbreviations in your OET letter. Think about the recipient of your letter. Will they understand the abbreviation you're using? Your letter should be clearly understood. Any abbreviations or symbols regarding drug administration which could be confusing in any way must be avoided. So once again, use your common sense. It's also worth being aware that there are some differences between abbreviations used in Australia, Canada, the UK, and the USA, so writing in full is generally preferable here. And finally, make sure that any abbreviations you use are up to date and currently in use. To be clear, we're not suggesting that you completely avoid using abbreviations and acronyms in your OET letter. They are a very important part of communicating in the medical profession, and they should be learned and used. I hope this video has helped you understand more about when and when not to use abbreviations when you're writing your OET letter. Check out our website at edubenchmark.com for all the materials and help you need to prepare for your OET exam, including practice materials written by experienced OET experts. You'll find full-length OET practice tests, writing correction, and speaking mock tests with personalized feedback. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.